the topic before us is don't get lost in the list, mastering commas in a series. Commas are essential for creating a clear and concise list in sentences. Now, in this course, we will focus on using commas effectively in a series so that our writing is clear and free of confusion, so that our readers may understand our message properly. Commas in a series are used to separate items in a list of three or more items. What it means? It means that we are writing a sentence, and in the sentence there are three or more items. It may be fruits or vegetables or some other grocery items, but these items must be three or more. Then we use commas so that there is clear distinction between each item or each element. Now we understand what we have said with the help of an example. I bought apples, oranges and bananas at the market. Now here you will see apples, after oranges, we have used commas. So these are commas in a series. These are the items apples, oranges and bananas, and this is the list as a whole. So here, to make the sentence clearer and free of confusion and properly readable, we are making use of commas in a series. The Oxford comma is also known as serial comma. When we are discussing commas in a series, it is worthwhile for us to also study what is the meaning of Oxford comma. It is the comma. Here we are talking about Oxford comma. Oxford comma is the comma which is placed immediately before the conjunction like and, or in a list of three or more items. Using the Oxford comma can help us clarify the meaning and prevent ambiguity. Ambiguity means confusion. I had Now we understand the usage of Oxford comma with the help of example. I had eggs, toast and orange juice for breakfast. So here you can see that here after eggs it is a comma and after toast it is a comma. So here this comma which is written after toast, it is the Oxford comma, because this comma has been placed immediately before the conjunction and. This comma is before the conjunction and. With Oxford comma, what is the meaning of the sentence? We see, I had eggs, toast and orange juice for breakfast. When we go through the sentence, we find that I had eggs, one item, toast, two items, and orange juice, it is three items. That I had three items for breakfast, because all are separated by commas. Now, if we eliminate this comma, which is after toast, what happens? I had eggs, toast and orange juice for breakfast. Here comma is not there after toast. What it means? Without Oxford comma, this sentence could be interpreted as having toast and orange juice as a single item. What it means? It means that when we don't use Oxford comma, we may interpret this sentence that in a way that I had eggs and toast and orange juice is the another item, that we are having only, I am having only two items for breakfast. Toast and orange juice is the single item, may be taken as a single item. It may be possible that thou as a person, or when we are using these items daily, we know that these are three distinct items, or these two, toast and oranges, are two different items. But if a person suppose does not know or have not used these items, he may think, or he may understand from the sentence that toast and orange juice are one item. So to clarify the meaning, we must make use of comma, that is the Oxford comma, in a sentence. It makes the sentence clearer. Another example, without Oxford comma, what happens? I love my parents, Charles and Lisa. In the sentence, you can see that after Charles and before and, there is no comma. Oxford comma is missing. Oxford comma is missing here. The reader may interpret it as meaning that you love your parents. These are your parents. I love your parents. You love your parents, and the name of your parents is Charles and Lisa. And Charles and Lisa are your parents. But if you use Oxford comma, what happens? I love my parents, comma, Charles, comma, and Lisa. Now, what this sentence means? Here, this sentence clearly indicates that you love four people. First is your parents, father and mother. Two, Charles and Lisa. This is 3 and 4. You love four persons. Your parents are different from Charles and Lisa. You love four persons. So when you don't use short comma, the same sentence means you love your parents. There are only two people. But if you use Oxford comma in the same sentence, the same sentence means you love four people. So it is up to you, or what you want to convey. That is, there is a lot of difference when you don't use Oxford comma in a sentence. No comma, and when it is okay. That is, when it is proper not to use comma. In a short series with only two items, that is, when you are talking about two items, I have an apple and an orange, there is, it is optional for you to use comma in that sentence. Example, I like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There are only two items, but peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So it is optional for you to use comma here. However, it is better to use the Oxford comma if you are writing an essay for school, or writing something that will be published and read by others. Now, tips for using commas in a series. Count the items. If there are three or more items in a sentence, use commas to separate them. In our earlier examples, there were three items and we had used the commas to separate all the items. Choose clarity. When in doubt, use a comma to enhance readability. Now, practice questions. Identify if the sentence needs an Oxford comma. She packed her suitcase with clothes, shoes, and accessories. Now, after going through this sentence, we may find that clothes is one item, shoes and accessories. If we don't use comma in between shoes and accessories, it may be, it may convey that shoes and accessories are one item, or it represents only one item. Both these two words represent one item. But here we should use comma before and, that is, we should use Oxford comma, so that we may correctly convey the message that she packed her suitcase with clothes, shoes, and accessories. That is, there are in fact three items. The meaning is proper. Adding next is add the missing commas in the following sentence. The new store sells books, electronics, toys, and furniture. So missing commas are sells books, one item, electronics, second item, toys, third item. So all these commas as a whole are known as commas in a series. And this last one, which is before and, it is known as Oxford comma. So commas in a series is a all the commas which are used in this sentence in respect of all the items, whereas the Oxford comma is the comma which is used in a list of items, and it is placed before the last item and before and or. Practice question: determine if the sentence is clear or ambiguous and correct it if needed. I invited my friends Mark and Sarah to the party. So what is the meaning of this sentence? After going through this sentence, we can say that this sentence is ambiguous. It can be interpreted in two ways. That is, you invited your friends and you invited your friends and their names are Mark and Sarah. It is one of the ways this sen- sentence may mean. Other is that you invited your friends and also invited Mark and Sarah separately. That is, you not only invited your friends but also invited Mark and Sarah. That is, friends are separate and Mark and Sarah are separate. That is, as a whole, this sentence which is given is ambiguous, and it conveys that you have invited, it may mean that you invited your friends and their names are Mark and Sarah, or your friends are separate from Mark and Sarah. So what you want to convey is not proper. So to clarify the sentence, we will rewrite the sentence so that we can properly convey what we want to say. If Mark and Sarah, if Mark and Sarah are your friends, if in actually Mark and Sarah are your friends, then you can say that, write that I invited my friends Mark and Sarah to the party. That is, if Mark and Sarah are your friends, then you can use this sentence: I invited my friends Mark and Sarah to the party. There is no comma in between friends and Mark. But if Mark and Sarah are separate from your friends, not friends, if Mark and Sarah are not friends, are not your friends, then you can write that I invited my friends, comma, Mark, comma, and Sarah to the party. So here, if Mark and Sarah are not your friends, that is, they are separate from your friends, then you can write that I invited my friends Mark and Sarah. Here you are making use of comma after Mark and after friends. So here friends are separate, Mark and Sarah are separate. So here placing comma before and helps us to separate the items, separate the people. So in fact this sentence was ambiguous, and if the two persons Mark and Sarah are our friends, we should write in this way: I invited my friends Mark and Sarah without any comma. If Mark and Sarah are not your friends but they are different or separate from your friends, then you are to use commas in a series and also Oxford comma in it to properly convey your message. Now practice questions. Rewrite the sentence with Oxford comma. For lunch, I had a sandwich, chips, and a soda. As already told, in case of Oxford comma, it is placed before the word and or. Here, this is the last item, soda. Before it, there is and before that, we have to insert this Oxford comma. Identify and correct the sentence if needed. The team included engineers, it is first item, designers, second item, second people, second set of people, and manager, third set of people. So here we will use commas in a series after engineers and after designers. Before and we will use commas. The team included engineers, comma, designers, comma, and managers. Rewrite the appropriate with appropriate commas. In the box there were pens, pencils, and markers. So here we will have to use commas in a series. There were pens, comma, pencils, comma, and markers. So that here we have used commas to differentiate all the items, to separate each item from the another item, so that the meaning of our sentence is proper. Now practice questions. Identify the if the sentence needs an Oxford comma. My favorite books are Great Gatsby, To Kill a Mockingbird, and Moby Dick. So here what is given? That my favorite books are Great Gatsby, it is first book. To Kill a Mockingbird, it is second book or second book, and Moby Dick is third. If we don't add any comma in between the second and third item, it may mean that these two books are same, or the name of a single book. To Kill a Mockingbird and Moby Dick are is the name of one book, but they are two separate books. So here we will insert a comma before and to clarify that these three books, this is the name of three books which are my favorite. Next is Determine if the sentence is clear or ambiguous and correct if needed. We went to zoo with our neighbors John and Mary. This sentence is ambiguous because it can be interpreted in two ways. It may mean that we John and Mary are your neighbors, or this sentence may also mean that John and Mary are not your neighbors and they are different from your neighbors. Though they accompanied you for the zoo, but they are separate from your neighbors. So this sentence can be interpreted in two ways. That is, your neighbors include John and Mary, or John and Mary are separate from your neighbors. So when we are to write the sentence, we must write in a way that our meaning is properly conveyed to the reader. So to clarify the sentence, we will have to rewrite the sentence. So how we do it? Let us see. We went to the zoo with our neighbors John and Mary. Here we are not inserting comma between neighbor and John. Now we have not inserted comma here in between neighbor and John. So it conveys that we went to the zoo with our neighbors and the name of our neighbors are John and Mary. Other in another case, if we want to convey that the neighbors and John and Mary are separate, neighbors are separate from John and Mary, then we may have to write that we went to the zoo with our neighbors John and Mary. Here what we have done, here we have inserted comma after neighbors and after John. It means that our neighbors are different and John and Mary are also separate. That is, we went to the zoo not only with our neighbors, but John and Mary also went with us. So in this way, we must clarify what we want to convey. Next, determine if the sentence is clear or ambiguous or correct if needed. I had lunch with my boss and my co-worker. This sentence is ambiguous, not clear, because it can be interpreted in two ways. It may convey that your boss and you, the co-worker, are same. That is, there is one person, say A, who is a boss and also your co-worker. You are working in an organization and there is one your boss. So boss is not only your co-worker but also your boss. So same person is the co-worker and the boss. That is, you are having or you had lunch with one person. but it may also convey that you had lunch with two people. One is your boss and other is your co-worker. So to clarify the position or to convey the intended meaning, we have to rewrite the sentence. If your boss and co-worker are two different people, if there are two people, boss is separate, co-worker is separate, then you will write, I had lunch with my boss and a co-worker. I had lunch with my boss and a co-worker. Boss is separate, co-worker is separate. So now if boss and co-worker are the two words which pertain to a single person, boss and co-worker are is the same person, then you can write, I had lunch with my boss who is also my co-worker. I had lunch with my boss who is also my co-worker, or you can write, I had lunch with my boss. So in this way, you have to clarify whether there is only one person with which you had lunch or there were two persons with which you had lunch. Summary. While the Oxford comma specifically refers to the last comma before the conjunction, commas for a series encompasses the entire set of commas used in listing items, ensuring clarity and preventing ambiguity. For example, I bought a pen, eraser, stapler, and notebook from the shop. All these commas collectively refer to the commas in a series. But this, the last one is the Oxford comma. It is the Oxford comma. Here, all these commas, including the Oxford comma, refer to commas for a series. So, by mastering commas in a series and understanding the meaning of Oxford comma, you can elevate the clarity and professionalism of your writing so that you can correctly convey to the reader what you want to say. Thanks for watching. If you like our course, please spare some time to give a star rating to our course. Now the topic before us is time traveler or comparer, sorting out then and then. These two words, then and then, may sound similar. When we speak these two words, they have similar pronunciation, but they serve distinct purposes in your writing. They have different spellings, they have different meanings. In one word, there is E, in other, there is A. This course will equip you to use then and then correctly in your writing so that your sentences flow smoothly and you are in a position to convey your message properly to the reader. Firstly, we will understand the meaning of then. THEN. It is concerned with time. It means at that time or after that. Then can also introduce a consequence or result of an action. For example, we were in the same class then. Here it means at that time. We were in the same class at that time. I was in the USA then working on a project. Here then means at that time. I was in USA at that time working on a project. We went to the market and then we visited the museum. Here then means after that we went to the market and after that we visited the museum. If you study hard, then you will succeed in the exam. Here then means if you study hard, after that or as a consequence you will succeed in the exam. Some other examples: first think and then speak. More example: I finished my homework and then I watched TV. Now we will understand the meaning of then. THAN. It is used to make comparison between two elements. For example, actions speak louder than words. Here comparison has been made between actions on one hand and words on the other side. This book is more interesting than the last one. Here the comparison has been made between this book and the previous book. So here we have used the word than, THAN. She is taller than her brother. Here comparison has been made between she and her brother. Some more examples: nothing is more important than health. THAN, than health. Here the comparison has been made with health on one side and all other things on the other side. Next example: I would rather have coffee than tea. Here comparison has been made between coffee and tea. So to make comparison between two items, then THAN is used. Examples to avoid confusion: my phone is more expensive than my old one. Here THEN means at that time. So here my phone is more expensive at that time, my old one does not make sense. So here next is my new phone is more expensive than THAN, my old one. Here the comparison had been made between new phone and the old one by use of the word than, THAN. So here it is correct. Next is we went to the movies and then we had dinner. THAN is used to make comparison. So here in this sentence there is no comparison. These are two separate actions, movies and dinner. No comparison. Next is we went to the movies and then, here THAN means and after that we had dinner. So here it is correct. Next is if you finish your homework, then you can play outside. So here then has been wrongly used because here then means for is for comparison. But as per the meaning of the sentence or what we want to convey is that if you finish your homework and after that you can play. So here THEN is proper. Then THEN. Next is I like chocolate cake more than vanilla. Here then means at that time. But as per the meaning of the sentence, we have to make comparison between chocolate cake and vanilla cake. So here THAN is the proper word to be used in this sentence. Next, tips to remember whether we should use THEN or then in a sentence. Then use then THEN when discussing time or a sequence of events. Use then THAN when making comparison between two elements. Practice questions. Here we will have to fill in the blanks as per the requirement of the sentence, whether we should use THEN or THAN in the sentence. Back then, people did not have smartphones. Back then, here we are talking about the past. For the time, we are to use THEN. Then THEN is related with time. She is faster than anyone else in on the team. Then anyone's on the team. Here we have to make comparison. She is faster than anyone else. So then THAN is used to make comparisons. If you finish your chores, you can watch TV. Here it means that if you finish your various works, then or after that. Here for after that word is then THEN. It is easier to walk to school than to drive when there is traffic. Here comparison has been made between walking or driving to school. So to make comparison, we would use THAN. It is easier to walk to school than to drive when there is traffic. He played basketball. Then he went home to rest. What we want to convey? We want to convey that he played basketball and after that, and for after that, which is concerned with time, we will use THEN. Then he went home to rest. Next, she is more interested in science than in literature. Here we are making comparison that someone is more interested in science than in literature. Comparison has been made between science and literature. So for comparison, THAN is the appropriate word. First, we will go to the grocery store and then we will stop by the post office. Here we want to convey that first we will go to the grocery store and after that, and for time we will use THEN after that, and then we will stop by the post office. It was much colder last winter than it is this year. So here we are making comparison between the last winter and current winter. So for purpose of comparison, THAN is the most appropriate word or the appropriate word. He studied for hours and then he took the test. Here then means and after that, and for time related relation we use THEN. THEN. I would rather have pizza than pasta for dinner. Here we are making comparison. For the purpose of comparison, THAN. Next, bonus tip. If your sentence includes words like better, worse, more, or less, you likely need than, THAN. By understanding the difference between these two words, then and then, you can eliminate a common grammatical error which you can encounter while writing. So, when you understand the difference between these two words, you can write properly with clarity and confidence, and you will be in a position to convey your message to the reader appropriately. Thanks for watching. If you like our course, please spare some time to give a star rating to our course.